I always joke that it's harder to get on a mine site than it is to get into prison. And
I believe it.
It really is true.
Welcome to Remarkable Regional Business. Today, my guest is Paul Olsen. He is the General Manager of ISH24 Safety and Rescue. And Paul has quite an amazing story. He has gone from not even being involved in the industry at all to being the general manager of a rapidly growing business that now has over 300 employees across Australia, all run from Bendigo. They are as well the winners of the Business of the Year for 2025, as well as the National Global Footprint Award. And in this episode, you're going to find out why. Paul, thank you so much for joining me in the studio. It's really cool to have you here.
Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate being here.
And I appreciate you bringing me a coffee. I said earlier that you would be, I think, if any other guest has done this before, forgive me, but I think you are the only one who has ever brought me a coffee. So this is pretty cool.
It's more of a bribe than anything. I'm hoping you can make this look a little bit better than it's probably going to turn out. So hopefully I don't make the editing too hard for you.
No. We're going to start with ISH24 and a bit of an explanation of what it is. So, you know, this could go on for a little bit, but simply, let's go high level to start with.
Yep.
If your grandmother asks you, what do you do? What do you say?
Generally try and cover it with safety and rescue. You know, a lot of people nod and smile and go, "Oh, that sounds pretty cool."
Yeah.
And I can get away with that most of the time. But then you've got the people that ask a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, what sort of safety? What sort of rescue? So primarily, we're probably more known for mine rescues, but we cover so many different industries. So if we're looking at the business itself, we're a confined space management company. It's 85% of our business. We have job sites all over the country, and we send specialised personnel in there to go and control these projects as safe as possible.
Pause there. What is confined space management?
So confined space is an area that's deemed not safe for human occupancy. Okay. This could be a tank, could be a vessel, could be a vat, could be a silo, could be a pit. It's so many things there where there could be something that could make a really bad day for someone if they don't have the right precautions in place.
Right.
So for us, if we are coming in to manage a project, that project could have one person that's in there and we need to look after them. It could have 150 people. So depending on the level of the project itself, determines how many people we need to send, how many gas monitors we need to have, how many permits, how many rescue plans.
Wow.
You know, it blows up from there. So
a company would be developing a location, like say, use a mine, for example. They're doing a new drive or tunnel. And
liking the jargon, good work. You've done some research.
Well, I've worked with a few mining companies before. And they've got one of those little safety spaces, like an offshoot. Is that considered a confined space, or is the whole mine considered a confined space?
Look, it depends on the situation. Everything is different. What we might deem a confined space, a company might not. So we are actually brought in a lot to give our, I suppose, we go in and do a consult or an audit.
Yep.
And go, we deem this as a confined space.
Right.
What that business wants to do with that information is completely up to them.
Yeah.
The problem is if something does go south and the employer is brought to court because someone has had a really bad day, then it doesn't matter what they call it. It's what the lawyers want to call it. And the lawyers will go through the criteria as to what is deemed a confined space, and that business can get in trouble if they don't take those right precautions in place. My biggest advice to people is call it what you want, but treat it as a confined space, because if you're working off the worst case scenario and planning for that, then you should come out pretty safe.
Yeah, right. So there's a consultancy piece for businesses that, maybe aren't sure, or they're planning something, and you come in and say, yes, this would be, this wouldn't be, off you go. What happens next? So what does the work look like for confined space management?
So again, there's so many factors that we need to consider. This space that I'm looking at, or our team looks at, if we deem it a confined space, that business might only have to go in there once a year.
Yep.
So if it's once a year, they don't need to invest in the equipment. They don't need to invest in the training. They can just call us. We'll rock up with our big fancy black Mercedes vans, all full of the rescue gear, defibs, breathing apparatus, stretchers, ropes, the whole lot.
Yeah, wow.
And we take that responsibility away.
Wow.
We go in, they pay us an hourly rate.
Yep.
Job's done, nice and safe.
Nice.
We're happy to go in and clean a silo. We're happy to jump in and spin some spanners to replace a part.
Yep.
We'll do whatever the client needs to do.
Yep.
If it's a space that they're jumping in weekly or quite regularly, then that's where they need to have a look at the bigger picture of the other services that we offer. That could be training, that could be equipment, it could be all three. So if they have personnel on site that need to go in regularly, it's well worth investing in the training that we provide. And then that way that business is more self-sufficient to be able to conduct all their work internally and safely.
Nice. So other than confined space management and training or specific to that kind of area, what else does ISH24 do?
They're probably more known along the eastern coast for being a training organisation. It's an easy way to promote the business.
Yeah.
Like I said, not too many people know what confined space management is, so we do run with our RTO status as much as we can, because you can get some pretty cool shots when you're doing underground rescue training and fire and hazmat and swinging from ropes, and that's probably more what we're known for on the eastern coast. A little bit different on the west because they're very mining orientated over there.
Yeah.
We will promote our training organisation just to get more presence, I suppose, in the greater community. To make businesses a lot safer than they need to be, and that'll start with CPR and first aid.
Yep.
That's our entry level training, I suppose.
Yep.
And then we turn it up a little bit from there with heights and confined space, and then into the rescue side of things.
Epic. So what's the scale? Like what kind of headcount are you running, and geographic locations that you service?
It's growing. It's 7+ years I've been with the business, and I think Bendigo had 5 or 6. Reasonably smaller operation than what we see now. I think we're running about 22 people full time in Bendigo. We have offices in Perth and Kalgoorlie. There's probably another 10 staff at both those offices.
Wow. And
then with our casual and part-time workforce that go from job to job, mining to water authority jobs to food and beverage, we're nearly at the 300 mark. So there's plenty of people there to manage. There's plenty of risk involved, a lot of paperwork, a lot of recruiting, a lot of job allocations, a lot of travel.
Wow, I reckon. And your role in the company?
Well, I probably wear a few different hats. So my official title is general manager. I was promoted 5 years ago, I think, from a sales manager role.
Yep.
Never replaced me. Every time I think that we're right to put a sales rep on, we end up putting on another trainer, or we put on some more site services people, or there's I just keep allocating. So I'm wearing a few hats at the moment.
Yes.
It does get quite hectic.
Well, another hat you have worn recently is award recipient, award receiver.
Yep.
You were named and awarded the Business of the Year, Bendigo Business of the Year in 2025, as well as you took home the National Global Footprint Award this year and last year.
We did. Yeah.
Wow. How does that feel to be just like showered in all of these awards?
Oh, look, initially last year it was a shock. We got the nomination, and we probably weren't aware how involved the application process was.
Yes.
So we just dived straight in and went through that whole process.
Yep.
Filling out the application form, which was like going back to school and doing exams. Had to check your spelling. You had to make sure you weren't cut and pasting from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And we were very fortunate and very excited to win that national and global footprint category last year. That was our introduction to Bendigo.
Yep.
We signed up as a member there to experience what we could, amongst the Bendigo business community, which was fantastic for us. And then this year it just it was mental, if I can use that word.
Of course.
We got the nomination again. We went through the application process. I didn't really get too much of the team involved with that.
Yep.
I sort of did that outside of work hours, because we are quite busy at the moment.
Yeah.
I invited a few few of the team to sort of turn up to the awards and just come out. We'll have a few drinks. We'll have a nice meal. We'll have a good time. Our category's nice and early. Once that's done, we can have a bit of a night out. So that's what the original plan was, and that's pretty much what I stuck with until we won the award, and I said, okay, now we're done for the night.
Yeah.
Now we can relax a little bit more, have a few drinks, and just kick back and watch the rest of the show. So it was a complete shock for the last award to be, or the last winner to be announced, and for ISH24 to be popped up. I was completely gobsmacked, and you can probably tell that from my speech. For a guy that's happy to talk, a lot of the time, it's probably one of the first times in a long time that I have been quite speechless.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. And you did mention you were a few beers deep, but I honestly wouldn't have peaked it. You had yourself pretty well composed. A bit like a deer in the headlight, but you accepted it very graciously,
Thank you.
And from what I have seen of the ISH24 journey, I've only had a very outside perspective, and to hear in a brief moment the depth and the breadth of the business now was really amazing. And that's what I love about the awards, right? Is you get to insight into businesses sometimes that you never knew existed that are really cool and are here. And that's kind of what I do with this podcast, right? Is platform businesses and get a much deeper insight into what makes them great, what makes them remarkable. But I heard a whole bunch of things on that night. I was like, oh my goodness, they've really taken off here.
We have, yeah.
Can you share a little bit about the journey for me? Like, you said, how long ago was it a 6-person team in Bendigo?
So I started in 2018.
2018.
There was 5 or 6 of us sitting in the office then. We had, a few casuals and a few trainers, and we were sort of scattered all over the country at that point.
Yeah.
I suppose if we go back to the start, if that's where you're going with this, the business started in 2010. During the mining boom, there was a shortage of personnel that needed to be on site to conduct this shutdown work around confined spaces. So the business owner decided to supply quality people that could manage the spaces safely, look after the contractors that are in all these tricky spots, From there, the business grew. With the mining boom, there was, continued shortage. He won more and more work, which brought on more and more personnel, all casuals at that point. And what he found at the time was that the quality of work for people that needed these qualifications, the more people he got was a bigger range of experienced to not so experienced, and with that came a little bit of inconsistency. So the business owner, being the man that he is, he makes shit happen.
Yes.
An idea will pop into his head and he'll follow it through, which is great. He basically said, well, I'm going to start my own training organisation.
Yeah.
I'm going to become a nationally accredited RTO.
Yeah.
And I'm going to train my own people so that at least before he puts them on a job site, if they're wearing the ISH brand, we know what their level of knowledge is. Yep. We know that they know our process. We know that they're going to do the job properly.
Yeah.
So from there it grew.
So it was Dan, right, that started the company?
Yes, that's correct.
And the ideas man.
Correct.
I've had limited dealings with Daniel before, but I could pick that the moment I met him.
Yeah.
High ideas.
Yeah, head's always ticking over.
Yeah, as a good founder should be. And so it was became an RTO.
Yep.
Trained your own people.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you come into the journey?
So I came in not too long after we applied for the RTO status.
Okay.
Dan, again, was probably spread a little bit thin. He was a trainer. He was a business owner. He was the salesperson. He was trying to do everything, across multiple states, trying to capture that work. And it got to a point where he just needed some support. So he advertised for a sales manager. And at the time I was looking for a new job, read the ad, knew nothing about it, thought it looked cool, sounded cool, did a little bit of research, and I thought, bugger it, I'll go in and introduce myself, which was crazy because I already had 2 job offers at that time.
Wow.
Sticking with industries that I was more familiar with.
Wow.
But for some reason the ISH ad sort of spoke to me and said, might as well go in and have a chat and see what this guy's got to say. So
yeah, it's a super niche business, right? And
it is
very different. What was your experience? What were your other industries that you'd worked in?
So I did 9 years with Coates Hire. So there's a lot of equipment hire and projects running there. From there, I did a 3-month stint with Telstra. Didn't enjoy that. And then I got stuck into earth moving. So I did another couple of years of earth moving, did some water tank manufacturing, and from there I ended up at ISH. I got the job.
Amazing.
So
yeah, you got the job. Yeah. So you'd never had experience in rescue, mining, safety,
OH&S,
nothing. And so what was that interview like? You walk in there and you're like, what happened between you applying for the job and you getting the job? How did you get that job?
So I was originally interviewed by the receptionist.
Okay.
Yeah, she was screening.
Yep.
Obviously said enough to impress her to warrant a second interview with the boss.
Yep.
And then from there it was 2 guys in an office.
Yeah.
Just cutting to the chase. We weren't trying to fluff each other around. We weren't trying to overpromise or, say how we wanted, what we thought the other person wanted to hear.
Yeah.
We just sort of went in short, sharp. Might have been 10 minutes, and he's like, "All right, have a think about it because I'm ready to go. I've ordered a ute already. So
that's so good.
If you don't want the job, I'll cancel the ute." And as a joke, I said, "Oh, it's not the wild track out the front, then is it?" He goes, "No, but I've got a new one on its way." So I basically went to leave the office.
Yeah.
I sort of opened the door and I looked back and I said, "Yeah, get the contract drawn up, and I'll give my notice." So it was as simple as that, really.
Wow, I love that. And so there would have been a fair learning curve across the journey and understanding the industry, understanding the business. Tell me a little bit in tandem, like the growth of the business and then your growth within it.
Yeah, okay. So we've got probably one of the best state-of-the-art training facilities in the state.
Yes, tell me about that.
Dan built it.
Wow.
And then put on a salesperson and said, "You need to get people through here. I need to pay this off."
Right.
So for me, it put a fair bit of pressure on. It was about getting a little bit of a name through Bendigo. It was about picking up the trades and some government businesses, some schools to say, "Hey, look, we train in first aid. We train heights, confined space. Come and train with us." So, I went hammer and tong there for 12 months just trying to get people through the door. The more people I could get through the door, the more people that could see our facilities, know the name, spread the word, the business would grow from there. Did reasonably well.
Yeah.
And from there it was, okay, we're a confined space management company. Your priority is to find shutdown work, is maintenance projects, high-risk stuff where we can put our specialised team and really showcase what ISH was created for.
What does it look like to go to task on that outcome?
In what way? What do you mean?
You're on the phone, like how are you finding these people and going, "Hey, this is what we do."
Yeah,
get us in.
It was a lot of research in the back. Not coming from the industry, particularly mining. Mining is a very close-knit community, whether you're on the same mine site or a different mine site on the other side of the country. They are quite a cliquey community. So for me to step in not having mining experience was a little bit tricky. I really had to put my sales hat on there and talk a little bit of shit to sort of get in through the front door.
Yep.
I always joke that it's harder to get on a mine site than it is to get into prison. And
I believe it.
It really is true. So, to get to a remote mine site, you can't drive there and just knock on the front door.
Yeah.
You've got to be inducted. You've got to jump on a flight.
A chartered flight.
A chartered flight.
Yes.
That's the word I was looking for, sorry.
Yeah.
Which is organised by the mine. So you have to go through and jump over so many hurdles just to get a meeting.
Wow.
And sometimes you can get there and they're like, "Sorry, something's happened. We'll have to get you on the next one."
Whoa.
So you come home.
And, Perth being one of the most isolated places or, a lot of WA is just, it's a long way from anywhere, right?
It is, yep.
That would be, heartbreaking on a sales kind of.
Look, I'm not the business owner, so I was still getting paid. I just wasn't producing an outcome on that trip. So,
Yeah, true.
you know, it's one of those things. You keep throwing darts at the dartboard. Eventually,
Yep.
you're going to hit a bullseye. And
How long did it take to get traction in that?
we had a couple of clients back in the day that were keeping the business afloat.
Yep.
We just wanted more breathing space. We wanted the business to grow. We wanted to get the right we wanted to get the right people. You know, strategically, we wanted to be geographically located around certain parts of the country, which Perth and Kalgoorlie are ideal for mining. Yeah, it was really tricky because at the same time you're trying to grow the training side of the business and you're trying to grow the site services confined space part of the business. And then, we also have another division, which is equipment. So we're a bit of a triple threat in that regard.
Yeah.
You know, there isn't too many. I don't think there is another business that does the three things under the one banner.
Wow.
Particularly as well as we do
In the whole country.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. So we definitely have competitors with rescue training. We definitely have competitors with some confined space management. But nobody does the confined space management, the safety and rescue training, and the equipment supplies and support service like we do.
Wow. So that's some pretty intense growth, right? From way back then, from right at the start, from if we're thinking that's what, 15 years ago.
Yep.
15 years to go from where Dan started it to 300 in total headcount of staff of varying types.
Yeah.
Whoa. So where was the biggest growth period and on the biggest trajectory, and how did you manage bringing on so many new staff and new trainers and contractors with the demand? How did you manage supply and demand?
Look, it wasn't a big bang sort of moment where all of a sudden we landed 20 mining clients.
Yep.
It was a progressive growth.
Yep.
It was a nice, I suppose, evolution from 2010 to 2025 to where we are. You pick up a client here and there, you know, you win some more work. Like I said, I don't have a sales rep. It's really tricky. We've just put on a salesperson in WA only, just to try and push the training side of things and equipment. But that's the first salesperson we've had since my time. So for me, it was just continuing to be in the face of these bigger clients and these bigger targets that we wanted on our books to show them what we could do. And you just had to wait your time. You know, you had to wait for their current supplier to bugger up.
Yep.
You wanted to be that first phone call. You had to wait for a tender to come up and you had to apply and make sure that, you know, you sold the business the way that they wanted it to be sold.
Yep.
You know, for a very small business based in Bendigo to be competing for work for Rio and BHP and, you know, so many big national and multinational organisations is, you know, it's quite challenging.
Too right. That's just phenomenal. So tell me, I'm keen to hear a few stories of the work itself. So we've talked a little bit about the business growth and how you've kind of tackled that. Have you got any examples or stories from, you know, whether it's saving the day at a client's location or the impact of your work?
Oh, can't pinpoint too many precisely just to give you something that's going to make it exciting. You know, it has been a fair journey. There's plenty of things that are probably ticking through my head, but I suppose for us, if we are involved with the client at the right stage, then nothing should go wrong.
Yeah, nice.
You know, the best thing for us is to do the proactive approach. You know, it's supplying the personnel, it's giving the staff and our clients the training so that they're not only competent in what they need to do, but they're confident. You know, you really have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, particularly around the rescue side of things. Not everyone's built to fly off ropes and, you know, run towards fires and, you know, jump underground, you know, and confined spaces. So many people have those fears. So, you know, our staff are pretty good with that. They
Yeah.
all have their strengths and their weaknesses, and it's no different to any other business that we're training. You know, we try and identify where people might not be confident or comfortable, and then we just tell them to do it anyway. You know, we stand beside them and say, you know, we'll come off the top of this silo with you, and you know, we'll do whatever we have to do to convince them that, hey, look, everything's going to be all right. This is what we do.
Wow.
To give them the faith. Like a lot of people sign up to be part of an emergency response team.
Yep.
Usually on a mine site or a power station.
Yep.
So that's where we come in and train them so that they know that if something does happen, hey, you've had the training, you've tested this gear out before, you know the process.
Yep.
That's all you've got to do.
Yeah. Gee, it's a pretty epic work environment. Like some of those confined spaces, I was claustrophobic when I was a kid, and I tell you what, yeah, it's a different world being in a really small space.
Yep.
Wow. So tell me, you've got a fairly big footprint, and you've only just put on another sales team member.
Correct.
What is the makeup of the different types of staff and roles that you've got? Like, what does it take to run ISH24?
It takes a team. It's definitely a team, and that team needs to communicate and, you know, follow the processes that have been created. Now, processes can change. We evolve if we identify a better way to do something. But if we're talking managing a shutdown, for instance, it will start with a quote. You know, it will start with the admin team or myself putting together a quote to win that work, to show how we're going to do it. From there, if we're successful, then we have 4 full-time recruiters, and these guys work every day allocating these 300 people to multiple jobs every week.
Wow.
You know, the biggest thing for us, particularly having 260-odd casuals, is that they all want as much work as they can.
Yep.
They're based all over the country. They will travel wherever they want to work, but we need to make sure that they're not putting their hand up too often, that they're going to tire themselves out, or they're going to double commit to 2 different jobs that are at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, if you think of nationally how many projects are going on just on mine sites, there's a lot.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that we have got the right crew at every job. You know, we've got a range of experienced people. We've got the right supervisors. We've got the right sentries. And, you know, that's the next part of what ISH does. Our entry level on a mine site is to be a sentry, what most people probably call a spotter.
Yep.
And they're the people that sit outside the confined space, and they'll be making sure that it's deemed safe. You know, it will be gas tested prior to anyone going in there. Anyone that enters a confined space needs to sign in and then sign out when they're done. These guys are the eyes and ears, while you might have a sparky or a boilermaker in there banging and clanging, not aware of what's going on inside that confined space, where our sentry is the person that's responsible for making sure that that person's safe. It's making sure that nobody enters the confined space to, you know, be a distraction or cause any more drama that needs to be in there. Because with a mine site, when they flick that big imaginary button that turns off the mine, they don't make any money.
Yeah.
And they don't want that to go on any longer than it needs to be. So it is quite chaotic that when that switch is done, we're responsible for 150, 200 contractors that are just going hammer and tong in there trying to do their job. You know, like I said, you've got cleaners, you've got inspectors, you've got people in there replacing parts, your boilermakers, sparkies, so many different industries that are working over the top of each other. And then you've got these ISH people sitting outside going, you can't do that. Or, you know, your time's done, or there's an alarm going off because there's a fire in the confined space. You need to get out.
Wow.
And we need to, you know, instigate the emergency process.
Whoa. Well, it's a fair amount of responsibility, but it's a key role, right? It's
Definitely.
It's when you're talking safety, that's the method in which things are able to be kept as safe as possible.
It is. And look, our guys are probably the least qualified out of any contractor that's on a mine site. You know, you've got some people on some really big dollars there, and we try and look after our staff, but all those expensive people can't go into the space unless the ISH person lets them in there. So we like to hold that little bit of power.
I love that. Hey there, sorry to interrupt, but this is actually the end of part 1 of this conversation. Don't worry, the next part of the episode is already released and you can just click next and go straight to that one. Hope you're really enjoying the episode. I'll see you in the next.